Welcome to the Overwhelm is Optional podcast, where each week we find ways to gently rebel against the nonsense that overwhelm and exhaustion are just the price you pay to have the life you want. Hello, welcome to the final instalment for November of the Gentle Rebel Way of Getting Things Done. So the purpose of this has been to explore how we can get things done efficiently without getting sucked back into or sucked further into, or wherever you are on your gentle rebellion against overwhelm and exhaustion. So trying to get things done efficiently without adding to overwhelm, without pushing ourselves so hard that we end up snappy, achy, grumpy, brain fogged, unable to hear anybody, and then we just lose that lovely ability to switch off, have fun, relax, laugh and be ourselves. So this isn't a heavily scripted podcast. If you've been around here for a while, I'm sure you're aware of that. It's just me exploring my gentle rebellion, my client's gentle rebellion, the idea of a gentle rebellion, inviting you into this world where we just say, yeah, everybody else is pushing through overwhelm and exhaustion, but it's not working for me, so I want a way to do things differently. And this isn't about a set way of doing things. I think this is really important. I don't have written down like steps that you take personally and that will sort you out. What I have is, as a teacher, I have tools that I've developed for myself and with my clients, and particularly inside Get Your Life Back, my group program, which is a really systematic way of doing this work, of pulling it all together. So it just builds very gently, week by week, until you're just practicing tiny tools that really do make a big difference in your life, and then consistently coming back to that when you forget, because it's a gentle process. It's not I must stick to this one right way of doing it or disaster will happen. No, it's about fundamentally the gentle rebellion, and everything I teach is about coming home to yourself, about being yourself, about finding your way of doing things, because I fundamentally believe that we all have inside us the way to live our life in the most fulfilling and easy and fun and lovely way possible, but that it's blocked by this constant overusing of the mind, overloading the mind, which results in this very serious overwhelm, which isn't taken seriously, which is why I always start with the overwhelm. Make overwhelm optional for you, and from there you will uncover the easier path, or the path of least resistance, whatever you want to call it, the gentle rebel's way. So this month of November 2022, you might be listening to this way in the future, because I know people do go back to previous episodes quite a lot. It doesn't matter when it is. I happen to do it in November because that's when it came to me to pull all this together. And also because autumn for me is a time of decluttering, letting go, examining what I'm up to, how can I have more time and energy for the things I love doing and light me up and energize me, and what am I ready to let go of. So for me it's a constant thing of noticing, am I getting sucked back into survival, because that's what that overwhelm is, isn't it? I must do all of these things in order to be okay, in order to feel satisfied, in order to make enough money, in order to keep everybody happy, in order to keep fit, in order to maintain every machine in the house that's supposed to make my life easier. And that's survival mode, and that's why we get constantly tricked into fear and anxiety and panic over, I have to get this stuff done, and we just can't see that we're now in a tunnel and all we're doing is getting stuff done. So the idea of this month has been to say, okay, how can we get stuff done, because we still want to get stuff done, and there are still things that I'm never going to say you have to do, because I think one of the most powerful questions we can ask is, do I have to do it really? Because the pressure of, I have to do that is so immense and can be so heavy and time consuming, that just gently rebelling, going, what would happen if I didn't do that? And, it might not be a good idea. Only you know. But it's a great question to ask. What would happen if I did nothing today is one of my favourite things to play with. What would really happen if I did nothing today? Just imagine it. What would happen if I did nothing today? Or do I really have to do that? Or could I do it differently? Is a really nice question. So once you've decided there are things that you really want to get done, because life is about doing, life is about living. It's not about, well, for me, it's not about sitting around and hoping everything's okay. It's very much about saying, yeah, I really feel called to do that, or I really want to do that, or whatever it is, doing it because it lights me up. Even the things that you could say, well, that's really boring. So often I notice, for me, this kind of pressure that if I was really good at, and I'm kind of, that's in inverted commas because that's such a judgment, if I was better at or really good at organising my life, then I wouldn't do any of the boring things like cleaning the house or, I don't know, those kind of things. But actually, I don't believe that's true, because it doesn't matter. So often for me, there's this image of a successful person who doesn't do those things. They employ somebody else to do certain things. It's very, very common in the online entrepreneurial world that you don't do certain things. You pay somebody else to do them. And that's not the point, is it? The point is, what do you want to do? What takes pressure off you? What lights you up? And more importantly, why are we all trying to do all of the things all of the time, and just putting up with overwhelm and immense pressure to just spend all of our time and energy getting stuff done? So this gentle rebellion of November has been not stop getting stuff done, but focus on identifying how you want to do the things that you really want to do. That's the gentle rebel way. What is important to you right now at this point in your life, at this season in your life, at this time of the month or the week or the day? What works for you? And only you know that. Nobody can tell you. You can read, I did read all the productivity books, watch all the TED Talks and go, oh yes, well, a miracle morning, or I don't know, I haven't read the miracle morning one. But you know, when I was trying to prevent myself burning out and get more stuff done, and I just got better at getting more stuff done, so I burnt out, I did read a lot of things about productivity and how to get stuff done, and this whole, you must do this in the morning, and you must do this, and you must do that, and it's better to do this at this time of day, and you ought to be doing it this way, and you don't need to do that, and da-da. It's very bossy. And I would take things that work for me, try them, you know, I'd try stuff out. I'm always open to trying stuff out, and then I'd let go of certain things. And that was my messy way of finding ways to do things. But what was missing for me was that, you know, I'd been a single working mum, so I was pretty good at holding stuff together and getting stuff done, but it wasn't particularly healthy when I took that ability to just get stuff done and get on with things into an education system where really they're quite happy for you to burn out. I have to be honest. It's so common. It's still going on. Somebody I know at the moment is leaving because of the burnout and the pressure and the ridiculousness. So, you know, and it's everywhere, isn't it? It's an endemic thing that we just don't really appreciate. The idea that people are really valuable and that there's better ways that we could set up working life so that people could be even more productive, but much, much happier and healthier. And I do believe that's true. But I'm no longer interested in working in education or anywhere to sort that out. It's not what I'm excited about at the moment. But I am really interested in helping you work out a way to manage the overwhelm of getting things done. So that's what we've been up to this month, and this is the final episode in that series. I hope you've enjoyed it, where I'm going to discuss my journey with it and give you the ways that I do things, not so that you can do it that way, but so you can see my reasoning and what I use, and just take away from it what you want. I think stories are I love hearing people's stories, so I'm going to share some of mine today. But before we get started, just wanted to do a little update about what I've been up to, because I've had such a nice weekend, so it's nice to share that. I know quite a lot of you enjoy hearing what I've been up to. So this weekend I had a very important close friend come to stay, which is just lovely. Even if we didn't do anything, it's just lovely when that happens, isn't it? And four of us went on, and we had a team to go and find Alice, which is one of these games where you sign up and they put clues, and hundreds of people went to one city, and there were all these teams going around, and we kind of wanted to dress up but didn't want to dress up. So what we did is on the Friday night, and this was just so much fun as well, We made playing cards that we then tied on the front and back, but they weren't huge, so we didn't stand out too sillily if nobody else had dressed up. But it was fun doing that. And the actual making of the cards was so nice. We had mulled wine and we were just chatting and just drawing hearts and spades and getting it wrong and doing it again. And then I really enjoyed the colouring in the actual painting. I just found it really nice, fun. Hadn't done anything crafty for a while like that. So that was just a really good start. And then we rushed off in the morning early thinking, it could take all day, but it didn't. So next time I do anything like that, I should just probably have a slower morning. I'm a big fan of slow mornings, but anyway, it was fine because we managed to park and everything, so that was good. Anyway, so then you just have there's this game and you have to find Alice, and it's just fun. I mean, some of the clues were really hard. I was really proud because I got some stuff right that in the past I think I just wouldn't have got right. So I don't know what that was about. I guess there's a side effect of my gentle rebellion. My mind is clearer. And I accidentally was the leader because I was the one who signed up for it, which meant that my phone picked up things. So it was me who had to be in certain places to pick up clues, and the rest could just stand still. So I was like running around excitedly going, I've got it, while they just stood there, and then they worked out the harder clues. So anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it was a huge amount of fun because it was playing. And I think playing is so important. So it was laughing and playing and solving of funny clues, and it's just fun. When was the last time you did something like that? Just fun. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And then we had curry and chocolate and played bananagrams when we got home and chatted, and that just makes me happy. And then on Sunday, we obviously had a lovely, lovely slow morning with cups of tea and chatting, catching up, and then a lovely roast dinner. We always have roast dinner on a Sunday. I really love that tradition. And then we went to an Advent, so like 4 weeks before Christmas, service where in this beautiful big cathedral, they put all of the lights off and everybody has to switch off their phones. So I don't know how many people, probably, I don't know, a couple of thousand. I don't know how many fit inside this cathedral, but anyway, lots of people, all silent with no light. How often does that happen? Not often. Beautiful. Just that, and the silence and the stillness and the darkness. It's so magical. And then the choir start lighting 1,300 candles while singing choral music and doing a procession. Oh my goodness, it's so magical. I've got goosebumps telling you about it now. It was so special, and I was so grateful because obviously for the last couple of years it's not been very easy to do those things, and I just was really grateful that people could come together, that we could have community and tradition and these very old songs, and candlelight's so special, isn't it? It's magical, absolutely magical. Loved it. Obviously had mulled wine in the queue. So yeah, Christmas I think has started. We have in this house, we have watched one Christmas film already, really good. Something about Christmas at the castle. It's on Netflix. We've got Netflix for 3 months for Christmas, and oh my goodness, so much fun. And then I discovered that my partner secretly is already subscribed to Hallmark for Christmas and not told me, which I think means he's been somewhere secretly watching Christmas movies, because I said we can't start them till December. So I thought I was being really soft by saying we could start them a few days ago. Turns out he's already been doing it. So anyway, one of my clients has already watched all of the Hallmark Christmas movies, which I just think is brilliant. Anyway, Christmas is starting to come. I love that feeling, and I'm just grateful that we can come together with other people this year. It's just so special, so important, and so lovely. And I just love the tradition and the singing and the candles, and it was just magical. So anyway, that was my weekend. I just thought I'd share that with you because it was definitely unexpectedly lovely, definitely. And another bit of news, my book is selling well and getting lovely reviews. So go and check that out. There's you can just go to Amazon, Google Heidi Marke Overwhelm is optional, or you can click the link in the show notes below this episode. And also I think I mentioned it on last week's episode that I have had this long-standing problem of being able to find journals that I really like the feel of. I'm happy to scribble in and then happy to burn, because I don't want to be, I find it really hard to burn a beautiful journal that's hardback. It's just I find that quite difficult. So whenever I'm given or buy a beautiful hardback journal, I tend to keep that for quotes and things that I want to keep. But I really wanted something, I obviously do a lot of messy journaling, and I wanted something that served that purpose. So I've created my own, and the first one, it's up and going. It's got my beautiful dog Nutmeg on the front, and it's called the Unexpectedly Lovely Journal, and that's now available in 2 sizes on Amazon. Why? Because I'm quite fussy about these things. So one of them's kind of roughly A4 size, which is a larger size, and I like a larger size when I'm doing more long-term journaling, like messing about with kind of projects and dreams, and that one will take longer to fill up, but it's like just splurging. And then I like to have an A5 one by my bed, which is my morning and evening journaling, my day-to-day, closing the day and committing to myself every morning. So I created both, obviously, and they have more pages than usual, because I don't like it when you only get 80 pages. It drives me mad. So I think it's 150 in the larger one and 180 in the smaller one, which feels right to me. So they're there for you. Go get them. Go enjoy if you have trouble getting journals, or if you like mine. And it's the Unexpectedly Lovely journal, because I've put a reminder to always expect the Unexpectedly Lovely on each page, just for that beautiful sinking in repetition. Remember, remember, remember. There's an easier way for you. So I'm going to create some more because it's fun, and I believe they're going to be really helpful. I'd love to know if you get one, and if you find it helpful, and if you've got any suggestions, send them to me, because I now have discovered how to make these beautiful things, and it's been such a long-term plan. So woohoo. So that's something I got done last week, actually in the end very quickly, by using the focus that I've been discussing this month and the methods that I'm going to go through today. So let's do it. So if you caught the episode with Miles a couple of weeks back, he's a professional GTD coach and trainer, and I went through his coaching with him for setting up GTD specifically for myself. But as you may have noticed in the episode, he actually reflects on that and says that I had most of it there already. So I just want to talk about that. So what I'd done is, as a single working mum, I'd had to find ways of, just getting the important things done in order to survive, because it was bonkers. And then when I was teaching, because I was so overloaded, I'd studied lots of different productivity hacks and brought them together. And I was very, very good at compartmentalizing work and home and getting things done and having lists set up so I could, I knew about things like don't check your email first thing in the morning, just like go straight to your list and get those things done first. It's not always possible, particularly as people send stuff that you need to look at first. So I have changed that, because that's a GTD thing, is to do a scan of your emails first. So I do that now. But it doesn't interfere. It only interferes with your priority list if it's actually urgent. And I think this is really important, this idea, what is urgent? Because the problem is with overwhelm is we're overwhelmed because everything's urgent, and we can't in the end see the wood for the trees. And then we're just whack-a-moling it, and we're on survival. And that's why we get snappy and grumpy, and it's all miserable, and we want our lives back, right? So the last episode gave you a way of going through in quite a big, deep way, which really is a one-off, but then you can just take little bits of it to check in with yourself. But it's mainly a one-off to get started, and it's about working out what is important to you. So if you went through that process, or even part of it, or even just let my words wash over you, hopefully it's triggered the kind of thoughts about, is that really important to me? Is that really urgent? What do I really want to be doing with my time? And that helps you to prioritize. So I've been through the GTD coaching, but I already had stuff set up which enabled me to be efficient, but there were still things I could make better. Some things I'd already made better because I'd burnt out, so I'd had to. So the thing is with burning out is it forces you, or at least it forced me, to prioritise different things. I could no longer get everything done or get all of those things done that I thought were so important. I just couldn't. I was incapable. I just couldn't do stuff anymore because I damaged my health, my confidence. I was crying at work. It was horrible. So what we don't really want to do it that way. So burnout taught me what's most important, and I discovered that I'm most important. My health is important, my sanity is important, getting things done is less important. However, I want all of it. Obviously, that's the point, right? We want a full adventure. We want to be living wholeheartedly, living fully. So what I want is systems set up that support me in doing that. So when I started working with Miles, I'd already altered the systems from high productivity but high stress, and not really able to switch off very well, or having to have lots and lots of strict ways to switch off, like sleep hygiene, and it was really hard. So one thing I want to mention is the compartmentalizing between home and work. I had it set up, but it wasn't working for me. So one of the things I do work with people about is work-life leakage, and that's when your work is leaking into your life all the time, or in, like in the middle of the night, or you're bringing it home in your body with the stress, or you're working at home, or even if you're not bringing work home, if you did what I learned to do, which is leave work at work, I still wasn't emotionally leaving it at work. So what changed with burning out is I learned to do that because I had to survive. I had to heal, to get better, to be well, to be functional. I had to learn to just let go. So that's a really important thing about last week's episode, is what is important to you. It's more of an emotional, it's a very deep exercise of going, this is important. I could let that go. This isn't my stuff. Oh, whoops, I've just accepted the slopey shouldering of somebody else's responsibility. We were actually having a conversation over the weekend about this, about how it's very easy to end up hole filling and thinking that you're doing a good thing. So I know I did that a lot. And what you're actually doing is propping up a really rubbish system. And it's difficult to not hole fill, because it's not great, is it, to let other people not receive what they need from a service, particularly a public service. But anyway, I think it's really interesting that some people are able to say, yeah, but I don't do that. I stick to what is my job, and I'm not available to take on other people's work constantly. So there's a difference between occasionally stepping in to help and being the person, like I became the go-to person to get things done. So that meant that people were giving me work that wasn't mine, and I was gladly accepting it because I enjoyed it and I loved it and I was good at it, but it wasn't healthy. So it's worth looking at that. So that was really, last week's episode was really about getting you, it was an invitation for you to look at that as a whole picture, and that might just take a while because there's a lot in that. You could do it as a one-off journaling thing, or you can just let the ideas wash over you and just see what comes up. So this process for me of setting up the system I have now, a lot of it was deep work that happened on my healing journey, recovering from burnout, where I was forced to look at it. My body forced me to pay attention to it because I caused myself so much damage. So that stayed with me. Now, what I have noticed is that people who burn out often do it in a circle, like you just keep repeating it, because unless we really examine it and change that, so often people go through what they call, I've heard people say, oh yeah, a couple of months ago I was really burnt out, and yet they're continuing as they were before. So I would argue, I mean, it doesn't really matter, it's just a semantics, but I would argue, did you burn out? Because if you're still 2 months later okay, you probably didn't actually burn out, because to me burnout is really dramatic, complete crash, whereas that's surfing the verge of burnout. That's you've surfed it and then you've recovered, and you'll probably surf it again unless you change your way of thinking about things and the way of doing things. Possibly, I don't know. You'd get to decide that. I don't know where you are on your, obviously, because I'm just talking into this lovely snowball microphone. So cute. But if you recognise that pattern within yourself, then this whole month is for anybody at any journey, but it's really worth noticing. Am I surfing the verge of breakdown and burnout, or not? And just noticing where you are with it all and paying attention. So it's really where our getting things done is about, where is my attention going? Because whatever's pulling at my attention is going to get done. especially if it's irritating me, especially if it feels heavy. And I don't want to be pulled in lots of directions and doing things because it feels heavy and that the only way to feel better is to get it done. I don't want to live that way. I want to turn that upside down. That's the rebellion for me. So now, instead of doing it that way up and just using productivity to be more efficient, what I do now is notice what I really want to do. So it's the opposite. So instead of doing things to get rid of a burden and a pressure, I'm mostly doing things because they light me up, because they energize me, because they're the best thing for me right now. And I would argue that I'm getting just as much done. Actually saying that's really interesting. Am I getting just as much done? I don't know, and I don't care. My entire life is functioning really well. I wrote a book. I have created a successful podcast. I'm a really good coach. I love my business. Am I doing everything perfectly? No. Am I successful? Yes. Could I be more successful? Of course, always. So there isn't an end, is there? And this is really important. There isn't an end. What we're doing is we're playing with our attention. Where's my attention being hijacked? Do I want it hijacked, or do I want to choose? And for me, the freedom is in the choice. I get to decide. Even the things that I feel I ought to, should do, or have to do, I get to decide. So that's the power, isn't it? That's the power I want to get you to see through my journey is, where are you giving away your attention? Where are you giving away your power to choose? Because it's the choice that makes us happy. Being able to say, today, these are the things that matter to me. This is where I want to put my precious time, attention, and energy. This matters to me. Because that horrible feeling of constantly postponing what matters to us is miserable, and there's no need for it. Most of us do not live in situations where we are in that constant survival. Most people in the world no longer are, despite what we're told. Most people are healthier and more prosperous than ever before. And there is plenty of opportunity to choose how we move through our day. And when we do that, we empower other people to do it. And we're also just nicer to be around. Like, I'm a snappy monkey. If I feel like, oh, I've got to do that, I just rebel against it. I didn't used to enough, and now I do. Now but it's gentle. It's not. I don't tend to get cross and stamp my feet anymore, just because I don't need to. I just go, no, it's not what I want to do. What I'd really like to do is this. And if I'm not bothered, I'm just like, well, I don't mind. Because quite often I don't mind, because I'm really happy, because I'm having days that are satisfying. Now, it doesn't mean every day is deeply satisfying, every day I get everything done. No, this to me is not about ticking off a list. Yes, I do have a list because it helps my brain, it supports my brain in remembering and not going off at tangents, getting excited, creating something else. And I do tick it off, and that is satisfying. But it's not the getting things done, it's the how I get them done that gives me the satisfaction. It is not the ticking off of the list. It is the how I'm ticking off the list. It is what I'm choosing to put on the list in the first place. And then once you've got your list, so the list of things that matter to you, from there, that's how we can really bring in the techniques of GTD, at least the ones I was taught. Because the thing I love about GTD is it's not a productivity system. It is a life system of freedom. And that's really important, because I thought before I was coached by Miles that GTD was a productivity system, and it seemed really complicated. And I'd obviously got bits of it because stuff all filters through, doesn't it? But then I was coached in it, and now I can see, it's not about getting things done. It's about freedom. And it's so good. So, and it fits completely with the gentle rebel way, doing things your way with ease and fun and as much joy as possible. It completely fits because they're both really rebellious. So let's just start with what I did first. So the very first thing I did was understand that my mind is not for holding stuff in. Now, I think I kind of knew that, but I think I was still in the psychologist ideas. There's a limit to what you can hold in working memory, but I was still unconsciously rehearsing things and keeping stuff in my mind. So the first thing I did with Miles was, for me, this was my reaction. So he taught me the GTT system the proper way, and this is what I did personally. So the very first thing I did was just completely accept and adore and explore the idea that my mind wasn't for holding stuff in. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you. That is, as I said on the episode of Miles, that changed my life. Because now I just question, well, I'm not holding that in my mind. Quick, let's get that out. So then the systems I have set up allow me to not hold things in my mind. Now, the only way you can do that is if the systems you create feel safe, because otherwise, if they don't feel safely held, they call it capture in the GTD system. If it doesn't feel safe, you're going to keep it in your mind as well, because your mind can only let go of something when it's either finished, or it's going to be done at a later date, and it definitely will be. It's safe. A lot of the system for me is just that feeling of freedom and safety. So the two things I use for this are block pads, which are non-sticky sticky notes. They're just pads of sticky notes that don't have the glue. I don't want the glue. And when I first started doing it, I bought one block, and then I split it up and put one with a pen in every single room. And then I had a shoebox in my office, and I already had a shoebox because somebody else had taught me that before. And then at the end of every day, you gather up all of the bits of paper and you put them in the shoebox, and then you process them at some point. I can't even remember when you do it, because I don't do it that way anymore. So I can't remember exactly what I was taught, because I don't need to, because I don't hold it in my mind. So this is how it works for me today. My rule is I don't hold stuff in my head, which is so good, because then you're not rehearsing lists, you're not rehearsing conversations, you're not rehearsing stuff all the time. So what I use is two things, because I am very much a pen and paper and a tech person. I'm both. I'm in between. So I use the Todoist app on all of my devices, so my laptop, my iPad and my iPhone. And if something comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember that, I need to get it out of my head, it goes straight in the Todoist app. If for some reason, so I don't have tech in my bedroom at night, and I don't like to look at tech in the evening, there's times when I'm tech free, which is really important to me, then I'll use the block pad. Or if I'm nearer to the block pad, then I'll just scribble it on the block pad. But what I've noticed is I'm doing that less and less, because I'm much faster at just going, put it straight in the Todoist app. And that works really, really well for me. Now, the next step in GTD is not just to write it down, but is to what they call clarify. So instead of writing a vague note, I can't think of something now. Oh yeah, so instead of writing record this week's podcast, then clarifying that would be record the final episode, sharing your story about how you get things done the gentle rebel way. Because it's complete then. Like, my mind's not going to look at it and go, what was this week's episode about? And then go off and, searching for information. So it's the clarifying makes it even safer. And it also means that when you go to decide what you're going to do today or this week, when you glance down the Todoist app, you just go, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to translate it. If it's too messy, you can't translate it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm brilliant at that. I'm much more dedicated to just getting stuff out of my head than I am to making it easier to do it. Sometimes I've noticed what I do is I just dump it into the Todoist app or on the bit of paper, and the bits of paper either get done or they go onto the Todoist app. So everything is just getting done through this method really simply. Often it's a complete mess in there, and then sometimes I'm going through it and I alter it to clarify it. Or when I take it out, so I'm not perfect at this stuff. And I think this matters. It's not about getting it right. It's about setting it up so it's just smooth for you. It's either working for you or it's not. If you want to make it better, you can make it better. It's just an ongoing, for me, it's about freedom. It's just, right, I know everything that I want to get done. It's all recorded. I'm safe. I don't have to worry about it. The important stuff will get done. If I want to, I can put reminders and use the date thing. Todoist is very good at that, actually. You can use it to produce your day list. I don't at the moment, but I kind of see that I might start to. And then what I do is at the end of the day, I check everything's in it. so I can switch off. And I write anything that I didn't finish today that is important to me. I write it for tomorrow. So it's just this continuation, but I'm using a pen and paper list in the daytime. I also have, as a working document, because that's how I think with a pen in my hand. I also have in front of me my written calendar. So I have, I see I'm messy, and between generations, I have a Google calendar and I have a written messy calendar. And I also have a weekly list, which I do on a Friday when I do a Friday review. So I just quickly scan everything, tidy up, and decide what are my priorities for next week. So that's how I manage the day-to-day stuff. I tend to keep a list in my workroom and a list downstairs of daily or weekly stuff that I just want to draw my attention to. So if I've got 5 minutes, it's not raining, and I want to go in the garden, I can look at that list and go, oh yeah, I just needed to take that out there. And I'm not having to think, remember to do this, remember to do that, because our minds get so clogged up by all of this remembering. It's so heavy. So that's what I do. And it took a while to set up. Yes, I was coached through it. I really enjoyed being coached through it because there were things I didn't realise, things I couldn't see that Miles could see, and then he'd ask a question. I was like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Oh, I could do it that way. Oh, and that's the power of coaching, right? You don't need a coach. You can read the GTD book. You can just listen to this month's podcast and give it a go on your own. You don't need a coach. It's up to you. You can work out for yourself. I really benefited from being coaching, and I offer coaching for just focusing on this. So I call it Rebellious Focus, when we just do a month and just get this set up for you, get you really focused on what's important to you. If you're interested in that, then just book a curiosity call. I've changed it. I don't like discovery call. I don't know why. I really like the idea of curiosity call. Curious about working with me? Come and have a chat and have all your questions answered. That's it, really. And it's fun. I like fun. Anyway, book a curiosity call, and if you're interested in having support in setting this up, because I'd love to help you, because I'm passionate about it. I absolutely love it, and I've got loads more knowledge and insight than I can possibly share, even in a month's theme of podcasting. And yeah, so there's an offer for you, or go for it, explore it on your own, whatever works for you. You can do this. Right, so that's the day-to-day stuff. And then there's, for me, a really important part, which is the project list. And you can put it inside the Todoist app. I found that didn't work for me. It's just not how I think. So the way I tend to do project, so that's like the next level app is like next level up. So it's where what am I long term, what am I trying to finish? So for example, the straw bale build was a project, obviously. The book was a project. My current rebranding is a project. There's lots of projects, and they are big, so they don't fit in the Todoist app for me in the day-to-day thing, obviously, because they're bigger. So, and they need sometimes just that. For me, it's what do I really want to achieve this month or this quarter or this year? And then I just kind of journal my way to the messy thing, and that's a project. Okay, it's a project. So now I identify it. And the way I find this easiest, I'm a bit croaky after all that singing yesterday. Funny. Right. The way I find this easiest is to get hold of a larger journal, hence the larger size Unexpectedly Lovely journal, and just write on one page, these are my current projects. Sometimes I just get a load of stuff that's like really irritating me. It's like, this keeps going, and then I brain dump that out and go, well, there's too many projects. I do believe in holding lots of things together and having this system set up. But if there's too many, it's not necessary for me to have too many going on all at once. So some of them then get parked, particularly as, here in the UK, the seasons change, and they change quite rapidly. So something I was doing in the garden now it doesn't need to be held as a project. It can be moved to the spring, and that's great. And then so for me, it's the reviewing and catching up on, this is the time for this project. This feels right at this time of year. Now these things are in place. Now I've met these people with these connections. Now I've got this knowledge. Now I've done this. This is come. So it's, for me, it's having all the projects recorded, but then picking the ones that feel easiest, most satisfying, most, ooh, I really want to get that done, getting excited, and then picking the projects that I'm focusing on at the moment. And then what I do is just quite literally take a page in the A4 book, write projects projects for November 2022, fold the page over, it's all very old school, and then that's what I'm focusing on. And then on the next few pages, I take one page each for each project and write down what it looks like when it's finished, so I know what I'm aiming for, and also the steps that I think might be involved. And then I have what they call a next action step, and that next action is what goes in the Todoist app with all the other they're called next actions, obviously, because that's what the company Miles works for. So it's just you're clarifying things down to, but what's the one next action I need to take, so it's not messy. So then my projects get done, because they're held safely in a book, because I think best with a pen in my hand. But then there's only ever one tiny step that needs to be done next. So instead of that concrete wall of, I want to achieve this huge thing, it just becomes, okay, so what would it look like when it's finished? What will it feel like when it's finished? Why do I really want to do this? Is this something I want to do now? So I go through all of that with my messy journaling, and then there's one step, and often it's a research step, or talk to this person, research that, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I manage big projects. And that's how, I think I did an episode on this in September, how we can do hard things the gentle rebel way. So just like holding lots of different projects at once, but not having them heavily weighing and overwhelming you by using your mind to hold them. So that's my basic system. It's messy, it's imperfect, it works brilliantly for me. It's based on rebelling against the idea that overwhelm is inevitable and that that's just the only way to get things done. It's based firmly on the belief that overwhelm is the worst possible way for me to get things done. I'm not open for overwhelm. I'm not open for exhaustion. I'm not interested in pressure, guilt, shame, fear. Never make decisions from fear, guilt and shame. Never get things done to reduce overwhelm. Getting things done is not the way to reduce overwhelm. Reduce the overwhelm first, then focus on getting the things done that matter most to you, because that's when you feel most alive, most healthy, most well, most satisfied, and you're more fun to be around. And the world just gets better and better, because when everybody is doing things from a place of, this is who I am, there's nothing wrong with me, I love myself, I'm not judging myself. From there, we stop judging each other. I always think whenever I'm getting judgy about somebody else, oh, that's a reflection. What am I not accepting about myself? What am I irritated with about myself if I'm getting judgy and snappy about somebody else? And I just always see it as a mirror now and go, ooh, why are you getting judgy? I don't like that. That's okay. You don't like that. Now you've got some clarification about what you do like and what you do want and what makes you happy, and that's important. And then you can let that irritation go, because it's actually nothing to do with you. It's somebody else's business. So that's my story with GTD, getting things done. And yeah, I really hope that's helpful for you. As you can see, it's not a strict productivity system. It's much more based on what matters to you. And how you set it up is important. How you do things. It's all about how we do things. It's gently rebellious because it is about fulfillment, taking good care of yourself, doing the things that light you up and matter to you. It's about controlling your attention, connecting to your heart, listening to your body, and then using a system set up in a way that matches you at this point in your life. So I hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear how you get on. Any questions, just email me. And obviously, if you'd like to come and work with me and be coached through this, then just get in contact. Have a great week. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do take a little moment of your time to share it, like it, etc., to help other people find it. And if you'd like to know more about my work, please go to www.heidimarke.co.uk.